And so you have your student spreadsheet part 2 open here where you've already entered in your data and you started doing a few little formulas down here for total and for average. You just want to make sure that you are finished with that part before you move on to this next part. So the very first thing it has you do in the worksheet is to confirm that you actually left row 2 blank. If you did what I did here and started in row 2, we're going to actually add a blank row so that all of the directions make sense and the formulas that I'm talking about make sense. The easiest way to do that is to click on the number 2 and then right click on it and go to insert. And what that'll do is it'll just kind of shove a blank row in there and shove everything else down. Everything still looks good. Next step I want you to do is highlight row 3 through 12. All right, so don't just highlight the kids' names. You want to highlight the actual rows themselves, and I do that by clicking on the numbers. And I want to go to data and then sort. And there's 3 different sorts here. There's an A through Z or Z through A, alphabetical or reverse alphabetical. This button here, the large sort button, will let me sort more complicated, but this is a simple A through Z. So I'm just going to click on that, and it will put everybody alphabetically. And because I also highlighted all of their data, the data also moves with their names alphabetically. Next step I want to do is I want to find the minimum and the maximum of my string of data for each of these. So I'm going to put in minimum and maximum. And now I need to find formulas that will find the highest or the lowest number in this string of numbers or in this series. Easiest way again is to go to the Home tab, click on Auto Sum up here, and there will be a list that pops up. And there is one that says min, M-I-N, and you can see now it just entered it down there. It incorrectly guessed that I want to find the minimum of just this one number, so I need to go up here and click and select the series or the row of numbers that I want, and you can see as I select, it rewrites the formula down here so that it makes sense. Press enter, and now it found that 55 is my lowest. Maximum, you do the very similar thing. You go up to auto sum up here at the top. You click on the button. Max is one of the options that's there. It types it in. Again, it incorrectly guesses that you want the maximum of these 2 numbers. You need to retrain it that these are the numbers I actually want, 58 through 68, which is actually B3 through B12. And that's what that formula is saying. Press enter and it finds those answers. Now, when I'm ready to redo the same formula here for pets and for siblings, I could either redo each of those steps, which are not that complicated, or if I look at this formula, if you look at how it's made up of a B3 and a B12. So if I redid the formula to this next column, it would be the exact same formula, except the B's would turn into C's. And then I did to the next column, the C's would turn into D's. So if you have a formula where you're going to rewrite the formula, but nothing changes except for everything goes up by 1, you can use this interactive fill button down here in the bottom right corner. It makes your white mouse marker turn into kind of a black T. And I can click and drag over, and it rewrites that formula for me with now their C's and now their D's. And I can do the same thing for this formula where I click and drag, and it rewrites it, and it kind of fills it to the right and redoes those formulas. The next thing I want to do is I want to make it so that these new formulas and this new data is in the same format as average, which if you look, that's Echo font, size 15 bold. So I could either go through and highlight all of these, or I have a little shortcut here called Format Painter. And Format Painter allows me to click on what it is that I want to copy the format of. Click on Format Painter, and then click and drag and select where I want to copy it to, and it will actually re-paste it onto there. My next steps here are to graph all of this data. So first step, highlight row 1. These are all the labels that are going to show up at the bottom of my graph. Then I'm going to use the control button and click and select rows 3 through 12. I'm skipping this blank row 2 because I don't want to ever highlight a blank line for graphing. It kind of tends to create sort of a weird effect on the graphs. So again, I highlighted row 1. I highlighted or selected rows 3 through 12 by holding down the control button. I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to choose these kind of column charts. And the first one is a 2D column chart. And you can see now I have labels across the bottom, which is everybody's names. I have labels at the very bottom with the legend, which is the height, pets, and siblings. I'm just going to pick this up. I'm going to move it over here so I have some room. I may need to resize it to give me enough space so it fits on one page. If you're in a different view, you can go to view normal, and it makes it a little easier to work with a graph. I also want to go up here to the chart title and type in the actual chart title, which is going to be student data. And if I don't have that area for the title, I'm going to go to chart tools up here, click on design, and go over to add chart element. And these are all the different elements I can add. That happens to be a chart title, but since I have it already there, it's appeared. The other thing I want to add is data labels outside end, and that will add little numbers onto my chart so I can actually see what the lines are without having to sort of guess where they are. So for example, this one here, I can see that 68 is the highest height for this for Ted. So now when I go down here to type in the answers to my 3 questions, these are on the worksheet. I'm just typing the question here, and the answers I'll go ahead and type over here. So the tallest person in this particular group happens to be Ted, so I just simply type in Ted, and I would keep on going through for the rest of these actual questions.